All right. So thank you so much for doing this, first of all. Do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Shelita, a human being.
Shelita, if that wasn't loud enough.
Yes, Shelita.
And how would you introduce yourself, primarily? Because you do many things. You're entrepreneur. Is that?
However, I'm not what I do.
All right.
I just am.
You are not what you do.
So the way I would introduce myself is, my name is Shelita, and I stand for compassion and love for myself and for others.
Okay. Now, what somebody might not guess, because we're here in a beautiful place in we're in the Seychelles, and people are saying this is a bad day.
This is so gorgeous.
I think it's gorgeous. Anyways, people might not guess that you didn't always have it made, right? You said that you started out.
Oh, I grew up in poverty.
You grew up in poverty in Seattle. And there was a great exchange earlier this morning when you said, I didn't even know.
I didn't know because I have amazing parental figures in my life. So no, I didn't know I grew up in poverty because they made sure that we didn't go without.
So it was partly...
And because of mindset. I think poverty is definitely a mindset.
Poverty is a mindset, right?
It definitely is, yes.
I asked you something about when did you first realize that you were in poverty and why is your mindset different? Do you remember what your answer was? Your librarian challenged you, he said.
Yes, to read every book in the library.
And you actually did that?
And I actually did that when I was a little girl, yes.
This is your public school library?
Yes, the public school library.
Do you remember how many books that was?
Oh my God, I should have counted. I don't remember the actual number, but it was a lot of books.
Okay. Now, so to be clear, because this channel is called Extreme Entrepreneurship, and I try to interview people that have been through challenges that didn't start with everything handed to them, but built something new and creative in situations that are challenging one way or another. So we've established that you grew up in poverty, but you didn't even realize you were in poverty.
Poverty is a mindset, and you can design your life.
So why don't you tell us, because if we don't have much time, what are the biggest things that you would pass on right now if you were talking to my students about this mindset? Why don't you tell us about, you've already shared a little bit about what your day looks like. Does your daily routine establish your mindset? Does it help sort of anchor
it does.
and frame it?
I recommend that all entrepreneurs meditate. Yes, meditate.
How much time?
I'd recommend starting with 5 minutes.
5 minutes of meditation.
And then moving over slowly more and more per day until you get to 2 hours per day.
2 hours?
2 hours.
What are you thinking about for 2 hours when you're
Absolutely nothing, and that's the point.
I thought you might say that.
Yes.
How does that change the rest of your day when it's go, 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 reply to this email?
It helps you be in the natural flow of things.
Okay.
That's how it helps you.
What if I were to tell you that I feel in the natural flow of things without meditating, and I've tried meditating?
That's really amazing. That's really amazing.
I thought you'd say you're in mental poverty and you don't even know it.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
All right.
Meditation is such a beautiful experience.
Okay.
It's a journey to your soul.
Okay. It's almost. It sounds so profound that
it's
almost
so essential to our existence.
I almost regret going back to some of the big points I wanted to cover that came up earlier, which were that you're into, among other things, wealth advising or wealth education.
Wealth education, yes.
A wealth education.
Because I want to make sure that people have access to resources where they can be financially free.
And you've made it to a point in your life where you're a recording artist, you're a composer.
Yes, that's correct.
You're a singer.
Yes.
You have an album.
Yes.
People can find Shelita on Spotify
and everywhere.
So quick plug there. But you also do wealth education, and you are bullish on crypto as a way to build wealth.
I am. I'm very pro crypto.
All right. And
I'm pro you becoming your own banker.
Is there anything we missed out of all these things? Because there's one more big thing that I want to mention, that you were selected for a program for people that were black to learn how to code at Microsoft.
Yes, I was.
Do you remember what years that were?
I don't remember what year it was, but I was in elementary school when I was in that program. I learned how to code at age 9 because I lived in Seattle. I had access, Microsoft's right there, and they would take people from my school to Microsoft, and exposure is important.
So you learned how to code at the age of 9,
I did.
and you started your first business at the age of 9.
At the age of 9, yes.
What was that business?
It was an engineering company.
An engineering, software
Yes.
engineering.
I wanted to monetize the new skills I had.
Okay, maybe we should step away from the waves just because you're actually right.
Look at those waves.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, but I'm worried about you actually might be right about the noise interfering with people being able to hear what you're saying. So can you connect the dots between learning to code, starting a company at the age of 9, and then getting into wealth education?
Yes. However, there's a step before that.
And there's art, being an artist.
Which is music.
Right.
So one of the problems I saw in the music industry is a lot of artists are starving and they're not making a lot of money.
Right.
And that hurt my heart.
Yeah.
It hurt my heart. And when I learned that, when I would see my peers, I thought to myself, how can we create a solution so that artists can sustain themselves and not have to starve?
And you did that for yourself?
I did that for myself, and I was able to duplicate the process for others, and then I hosted workshops and I showed other artists how to do the same. And then after I did that, I noticed, wow, this is working really well for creatives and artists. Couldn't this work with people in other industries? And it does, because it's principle-based.
Do you want to share some of those principles here?
Yes. So the first principle is everybody has a financial metabolism. Some people have a fast financial metabolism, which means they're really, really good at spending a lot of money, right? And some people have a slow financial metabolism, which means they're not good at spending a lot of money. They like to save, they're frugal. You need to find out what is your financial metabolism, right? And what's fueling that, right? So be aware, right? What is your financial metabolism? Number 2, anticipate your finances for the next 5 years. Yes, 5-year planning, right? Like you can anticipate the same kind of expenses and things like that, but anticipate.
Right.
Another thing is doing a net worth calculation. What is your net worth?
Yeah.
Most people don't know what their net worth is.
Really?
Yeah.
They don't add it up?
They don't add it up. Look at that number and create a goal around where you want to be.
Okay.
Because if you don't measure it, does it exist?
Yeah, no, you got.
If you don't measure it, is
to
it
manage it,
in
you
your
got to
awareness?
measure. Yeah, to manage, you got to measure.
So it's important to measure. And the last thing I will say about this
Yeah.
is remove all emotions when it comes to finances. A lot of finances for people is very emotional.
Absolutely.
They don't want to talk about their bills. They don't want to talk about their taxes. They don't want to talk about anything financial. And when you mention anything financial to them, they get like emotionally upset, right?
Yeah.
And so remove all emotion from your finances and make your finances non-personal.
Let's take one more step away from the waves to make sure that, because this is great principles to start with.
Yes.
And now I'm wondering if you want to connect the dots between coding, being a musician, being an entrepreneur, wealth education. What can other people learn? Is being a Renaissance woman, a Renaissance person, does having a bunch of different pursuits, do they feed on each other? Do they build each other?
They all build each other.
How does the music, for example, make you a better wealth educator?
Because in music, an artist is his own economy. You're employing people, you're employing managers, you're employing booking agents, you're employing hairstylists and makeup artists. So an artist is its own economy. So there's a lot that goes into that, right? And you have to do budgeting when you go on tour managing. There's a lot of things that comes to finances when it comes to being an artist.
Interesting.
And as an artist, you should be the CEO of your own company. You are a company.
You mentioned your role model.
Yes, Diana Ross is one of my role models.
Diana, if you ever watch this, she's still alive.
Amazing businesswoman. I've never met her, but she's amazing and she inspires me because she takes charge of her business as an artist.
Yeah.
And that really, really inspired me.
That idea of ownership.
That idea of owning yourself.
Yeah.
And signing all your checks.
Don't let somebody else pilot the ship or pilot the plane or whatever metaphor. What about coding? I asked you a question earlier. Does it make sense, those of us who are a little bit later in the game of life, does it make sense to learn how to code? What's the advantage even if we don't end up coding for a living?
I think it's important to learn the fundamental principles of coding. But right now we have computers that can code.
Right.
Right? And so I'm not saying that there's no value in learning how to actually do the technical parts of coding.
Yep.
However, I think that everybody should learn the principles of coding.
Last few questions. The future. You mentioned some huge plans that you want to spread wealth education through.
I want to spread wealth education to billions of people.
Okay.
and billions and billions and billions of people after that for generations and generations to come.
On that note, before we end, I was thinking about clarification questions.
Okay.
You said everybody should be their own banker, and that's what crypto lets you
Everyone
do.
should be their own banker.
Do you want to explain what that means for people who might not understand?
Oh
what it
yes,
is?
oh yes. Right now,
Yeah.
the normal way of conducting business
Yeah.
is you would go to an actual bank
Yeah.
and you would give the banker a deposit, right?
Yeah.
And they would be in charge of the security of your own money, right?
Yes.
But with cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
you are the banker. You are
Yeah.
the owner of the crypto asset. You have to be in charge of your security. You have the rights, which I think is amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
The 5-year-olds of tomorrow are never going to understand why anyone went to a bank teller.
But this only works if you have it on a cold wallet, not stored on somebody else's platform.
Correct.
As we've learned the last few years, those of us who might have used other platforms.
It's important to own your own crypto, know what your private keys, and store them securely. We're not going to get into the technical details about how to do that now because we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
However, it's really important that you store your own private keys when it comes to anything crypto.
So,
And it's also important that you understand that if you dive into the crypto world, that you do a lot of research. Do a lot of research when you get presented to new projects. Do a lot of research. All roads lead back to Bitcoin. I'm pro Bitcoin.
as like the new gold. Is that what you'd call it? The store of wealth?
I would say it's a step in the right direction.
Step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction.
And
I
just
think that we're going to get to a world where there'll be no more money. We won't have any need for money. What is money? Money's a store of value. That's what it is. And we're going to get to the point where we don't use money.
it's a store of value and it's a means of exchange. A mode
It
of
is a
exchange.
means of exchange.
Or as there's a great quote.
Yes, but I think the world in our future will be moneyless, actually.
That'll be very interesting.
Yes.
I hope this is fun.
It was fun.
It's fun. And just in case, this is not financial advice, none of it.
No, none of it, none of it, none of it.
And I think you'd agree with this. In all things in life, and your life right now is, I think, an example of this. Diversify.
Yes.
The reason natural systems are sometimes resilient is that they're diversified. They don't put they don't bet everything on one asset, on one activity.
That is correct.
And you're kind of living that, you would say.
Yes.
Okay, and so if people want to find out more information about you, your website is Shelita?
ShelitaBurke.com.
ShelitaBurke.com. So
It's ShelitaBurke.com.
ShelitaBurke.com. I'll put it in the details.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you.
Have a blissful day with bliss and abundance, and I hope all of you have a blissful day with bliss, abundance, and love.
Bliss, abundance, and love. Thank you very much for that.
Bye.
Bye from Seychelles.